Hey guys, what's up? In this particular lesson, I'll be teaching about boosting your memory and specifically the technique which I called as how to build a mind palace. This was discovered 2500 years ago. It's not my technique or Sherlock Holmes, but I have tried to include it in my daily life and it really helps me a lot, specifically in academics or otherwise. This is presented by me, Roman Saini. So I'll go slowly in this lesson so that you actually understand how to build the memory palace rather than making it just like any other video which is available on YouTube and other platforms. So I'll actually tell you what actually works rather than just the theoretical knowledge. And I'm the co-founder of an academy. I love spreading my knowledge, and by clicking on the contribute button, if you feel that these courses are helping in any way, you can just leave a voluntary fee, and you can also follow me on an academy on unacademy.in/user/Roman Seni. So why do you need to boost memory? This is the first question which people ask. That because we have a very limited memory capacity. Human brain is not known for remembering tons and tons of information. Our brain is not wired, means the neuronal connections are not made as such to remember facts and science and chemical equations and numbers. Plus, there is an evolutionary limit on our cognitive abilities. We are just among the best of the species, but our brain is not uh, equipped enough to deal with the current information overload and technological overload. But we are good at what? What are we good at? We are good at pattern recognition. For example, if we see a lion hiding behind a certain tree, so we will not go near that tree. So that's how our brain remembers. We are good at visualization. We can, sitting right now, visualize Taj Mahal. We can visualize Eiffel Tower. We can visualize outer space. We can visualize Mars. We can visualize inside nucleus of our cell. So just by saying, I said these words, like we can visualize a white polar bear. So just by saying these words, you can visualize all this, and right now the images have been flashing in your brain. And finally, third is association. A person sitting there in a particular way, we associate him to be a certain class, or we have prejudice or biases. That's how we remember. Association is a very strong form of, for example, if bell rings and food comes, then we associate bell with food. So that's how memory formation happens. What are the techniques to boost your memory? So there are mnemonics technique like remembering a list, there is rhymes, association, acronyms, and so much more of mnemonics are there. Like it's impossible in one lifetime to master all of them. Then there is second method called as method of loci, also known as memory palace. Loci means position. Then there is major system to remember numbers and visualization of numbers in form of sounds and images. And there is so much more that it is virtually impossible to take care of all of them in one lesson. So I'll be making a complete course on memory techniques. So, do you know this guy? This is Sherlock Holmes, and most of you, 90% of you, associate memory palace technique with Sherlock Holmes, which is not correct at all. It is not Sherlock Holmes who developed memory palace, rather, it was someone else. Who is this guy? It is Simonides of Chios. He lived about 2500 years ago in ancient Greece. What happened was Scopas was a very awesome gentleman, rich guy, and he invited a lot of lords in dining hall in Thessaly. Okay, Simonides was also sitting there, but then he went outside for some work, and in the meantime, the entire palace of roof collapsed. Okay, the people died, including Scopas, and they were crushed beyond recognition. Like it's absolutely impossible to recognize their face because they were crushed brutally. Now, corpses were needed to be identified, right? Because nears and dears one wanted proper burial for the same. So they asked Simonides, can you identify all the people who have been buried? To their surprise, he remembered the face of the people depending upon their seats. So, depending upon their seating arrangement in a clockwise or an anti clockwise direction, Simonides identified each and every one of them, and that's how the word memory palace came into being. That is, Simonides was the first person to remember the people depending upon their relative location. So for example, now I'll tell you how to build it. So for example, this is a house. Okay, it has like 4 rooms, as you can see. Very simplistic memory palace. So I can associate something with this. Let's say there is an image here of Mona Lisa. Then I go there. Here I see my dog. This is my dog room. This is my washroom. This is my bedroom, dining room, whatever. So I know these 4 things in a particular order. So this is always one, this is always second, this is always third, or this is always fourth. This is my house, so I have been living here for 12 years. So I know this is the fifth one can be playground, sixth one can be entrance door. So these 6 things I know in a particular order all the time. So I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Third is this, always 6 is the door. So I associate things with it. For example, if I need to remember a grocery list, so Surf Excel will always be on number 5. So number 5 is my playground. So I'll remember like children are playing outside and their clothes need to be cleaned, something like that. Or if I remember my dog, and if I have to, let's say, got eggs, so I'll remember that somebody is throwing eggs, big eggs on my dogs, and he's just trying to vend them off. something like that. So first sequence is very important of your particular house, and then you can associate anything. It can be your speech, it can be numbers, it can be your examination definitions, anything can be associated. Now for bigger things you need a complicated memory palace. So you need a garage can have a car, it can have doormats, it can have equipments, instruments. Then it is a bigger playground, you can have some horse tied here. This is a roof, you can have some wind direction guide here. So it becomes more and more complicated as you go. What I personally do is then I take this house and then I keep it in my head. So that's how I build my personal memory palaces. So for example, I'll get up and I'll see almirah on my left, then I'll see a door, then I see a refrigerator, television, computer, window, washroom, table, chair, my degree in a clockwise direction. So these are 10 items which I always remember because that's how my room is. I do this for 10 items in a room, then I have 5 rooms in a house. So I have up to 50 I can remember like that. So 11, 12, 13, 14, then go on and go on and go on. Then if even 50 is not enough for you, which is enough for 99% of the people. So let's say you want to remember the first 100 digits of pi, then you can have like 5 different memory palaces, and then you can associate them, then you can have 250 list and so on and so forth. That's how we go on. So first is the deciding the base. For example, decide on a mind palace base. It can be your house, it can be walk in your street where you see a shopkeeper in the first time, then you see a pothole, then you see a red light signal, then you see street light, etc. So this is fixed, right? Then it can be a temple, it can be different gods, goddesses, it can be a museum, it can be way to school or to home. It can be a video games, for example, map of Counter Strike, and even your own single room, as I've already told you. So it depends on what you are most familiar with. It also depends on how much item details you want to remember. 10 to 50 is easy. Beyond that, it will be a little hard because you need to make multiple memory palaces for that. Now finalizing the location or pegs, you need to identify locations. So for example, in this case, like my refrigerator, my television, my computer can be one. In your case, anything like whatever you are most familiar with, that is the thing which you should remember. It can be even like sequence of planets. For example, Mars, Venus, Earth, Mercury, all these in a sequence of 8 planets. You can associate things with them also. It's very easy. Now use only those locations with which you are already very familiar. This is the only warning which I'll give you. You should not forget your own memory palace, otherwise you are in lot of problems. So that is why third step is memorizing the memory palace. Keep revising it again and again. Keep revisiting it. Whenever you are free, just go through your mind palace. Soon it will become a second nature to you. Fourth is association of items to be remembered. Now whatever list or whatever academic speech, whatever you want to be remembering, just associate the items to a particular location in the memory palace. Make the association as weird, as absurd, which should not be real, which should be funny, witty. These kind of association need to be made because our brain remembers such things easily. So for example, this is my room. So for example, this is my memory palace. From clockwise direction, I can have my pillow, my bed, my mat, chairs, tables, refrigerator, computer, almirah, window, lamp. So like this becomes a memory palace, right? So this is always a fixed sequence in my head, so I can now associate anything with this. The usage is like people used to memorize speeches. I have done that. Lists, important concepts, definitions, answers, keywords. For example, if you are doing some fun thing like you can remember value of pi, deck of cards, any reasonably sized information can be remembered using memory palace. Some warnings: do not use similar objects in making the mind palace. For example, if you have already used refrigerator in the first room, do not use refrigerator in the next room. Make multiple memory palaces. For example, your house can be one, your way to school can be one, your way to, let's say, work can be one, then Counter Strike map can be one, then anything can be a mind palace, and keep them as separate as possible, especially if you need information for long term. And keep memorizing, keep revisiting your memory palace again and again, else your foundation will grow weak and you'll not be able to remember things. So I hope this lesson helps you. Do let me know if you want me to make the memory palace and the other memory techniques course. Thank you for watching this lesson. Have an awesome day.